We'll start with the Chicago Bears. Who's lining up under center for Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, and the Bears coming off an 8-8 season and a 7 seed in the NFC?
So, who I think will be is Mitchell Trubisky again.
Oh no.
I don't know. I think that's the case, but headlines have been coming out with Russell Wilson. The Bears are aggressively pursuing him, is from what I've heard. I would love to see that. I think that'd be very interesting. I think any team that adds Russell Wilson, I think he might be my favorite NFL player right now. I think any team that adds Russ is instantly put into championship contention. And the Bears, they were a solid team last year. They had a lot of ups and downs. They started out real hot, finished the season relatively cold, and of course lost in the first round of the playoffs. But I would love to see them bring in Russell Wilson. I think a lot of teams, of course, are going to go after him if he is made completely available. So I don't want to say Mitch Trubisky because he's just terrible, but I'll change it up and I'll say Russell Wilson. I would like to see Russell Wilson.
All right, it's Russell Wilson. Walls is keeping tabs in the producer's chair. So Feta says Russell Wilson for the Bears.
DeLuca, we just spoke on the previous segment about teams willing to mortgage their future. I don't think any team is ready and willing to mortgage it all for a quarterback, a star quarterback, than the Chicago Bears. I mean, the last time they had a great quarterback was McMahon in the 80s. Other than that, Rex Grossman might have taken you to a Super Bowl, but he's a bona fide scrub at the end of the day. So I think for the Bears, I'm sure they're on the phone with either Seattle or Houston. And I think ultimately, if they want to get a deal done and get maybe Deshaun Watson, I think that they mortgage those first round picks, maybe give up a player or two that's, Pro Bowl caliber and make that move. Why not? The Bears really at this point, you have nothing to lose. You need something to reinvigorate this franchise. So I happen to believe I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Deshaun Watson plays his first snap in the Windy City next season.
It's interesting, and I think it has potential for Deshaun Watson as one of the teams that would be very aggressive, and I think that's the most important aspect of this entire conversation. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, they're on the hot seat. And there were a number of people in Chicago calling for those two to be gone after this year and it being below expectation. They started well and really fell off a cliff during the middle of that season. They make a trade for Nick Foles, and there was talk about could the Bears potentially be in a position where they're starting Nick Foles next year. I mean, how amazing would that be after he got benched for Mitch Trubisky, who they've now said apparently they might be done with. So it'll be interesting. And this is one of the ones where I agree with you, Andrew. They're more inclined to be aggressive. On to the Panthers, number 8 overall pick. Some indecision about Teddy Bridgewater, could potentially keep him and groom a young quarterback. Matt Rule and company looking to move on. Who's under center in Carolina?
So that was my initial thought. I thought bring back Teddy and take a QB, whoever's kind of available at 8. I don't know if it's worth trading up for the Panthers. They're kind of like, I guess, they're just a subpar team right now. There's nothing special going on in Carolina, where it's tough for them whether or not you try and commit to one thing or you try and just keep building. Bridgewater is not going to bring you a championship, but he's a solid, reliable quarterback, I think. He came back strong after the injury, not as strong as he was in Minnesota. But I like him. I don't know if I can say he's going to start there. I think these guys are going to potentially go and see if – I don't know if Trey Lance is going to drop to 8. I don't it could be tough. You have no clue really what guys are going to do or what teams are going to do in the draft. I could see Trey Lance being that starter for them potentially, or I could also, like you said, Nick, they keep Bridgewater and regardless draft a guy and groom it and see what happens in the season, because that is one situation where Carolina is in a good spot, where if they start playing terribly and they have drafted that young guy, give him reps and see what he can do. Or if they're competing and they have Bridgewater as the starter and they're competing, keep him. This team also didn't have Christian McCaffrey the majority of the season, so if he can come back and play as the best running back in the league as he has been the past few years, who knows? Maybe things can change. But I think they're going to try and draft someone at 8. You know what? I'm going to say Teddy Bridgewater is going to stay there. He's going to be the starter to start the season. I think that's a fair thing to say. It could be, unless he voices more discomfort, I see him as the starter.
Yeah, we talk about potential veteran quarterbacks who can stick around and groom a young quarterback for the future. I think Teddy Bridgewater can do just that. He can be that bridge, no pun intended, to whoever the next quarterback is in Carolina. And I fully expect Brady and them to keep Bridgewater. He'll be the starter, and at the same time, just help whoever the rookie QB is down there come along until they want to move forward with that rookie. But again, I fully expect to see Teddy Bridgewater still there for now until they're ready to move and give the torch over to a young quarterback.
I think you guys are going to like this. And we just got done talking about John Gruden and the organizational structure and somebody who has the staying power on a long contract and the confidence from ownership to make a big time splash. And that being John Gruden to potentially go after Russell Wilson. My pick to be the quarterback for the Panthers next year, Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson ends up with the Carolina Panthers. I think the Texans will be interested in shipping him to the NFC. Carolina picking number 8 overall. It will not just take that. I know they only have the 1 first-round pick. It'll likely take some young players and significant draft assets after that point. But I think it'll be Deshaun Watson, a guy who's gone to college in the Carolinas at Clemson and somebody who's familiar with the area, apparently somebody who wants to stay on the East Coast, although there's reporting that he just wants the heck out of Houston, wherever that may take him, who knows. But I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson under center for the Carolina Panthers. I think that makes the most sense with Carolina in a position unhappy with their quarterback situation right now with Teddy Bridgewater. This is the time to strike. I think Deshaun Watson would be better served to be in the NFC with the landscape of all the quarterbacks in the AFC, and we can go up and down the list. Really, it's Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers at the twilight of their careers and not a lot else in the NFC. Deshaun Watson can really take over the conference with the right situation. I like him in Carolina next year. Another team in the NFC East, Washington football team, discussed them a little bit. Quickly, is it Taylor Heineke? It's not Alex Smith. Who's playing quarterback for Ron Rivera?
I'm going to make my bold pick here. I wouldn't, I guess, in terms of what the NFC East needs, but I think Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback for the football team. Yeah, he goes there, and this team is in a whole new ballpark of contending in the playoffs. So I think that's kind of I was waiting for the football team for my Deshaun Watson pick, and I'm putting it down right now. Deshaun Watson will be their quarterback.